I want to share two videos with you. The first one will be part of a press conference from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They was able to get three other guys off the street who's into getting things online pertaining to kids. Then the second one is to show how when a child is SA, it can affect them in different ways. Not all children are the same. The mental capacity as far as what is done to children when this happened and how they grow up. I spoke before how I was SA as a child at 9. I'm 55 now and I'm still dealing with those issues. I have anxiety, depression, PTSD. So I want to show the video of this little girl to show you how this can affect people on a mental level.
Good morning. I'm FDLE Fort Myers Special Agent in Charge Eli Lawson. Thank you, Attorney General Uthmeyer and Commissioner Glass, for joining us today. We're here to announce the outstanding, coordinated, and swift efforts of our FDLE agents to arrest three individuals: Kevin Randall Sheffield, Jason Grant Harrison, and Travis Lee Montgomery. I'm going to share a few details of these investigations, starting with Kevin Sheffield. 42-year-old Kevin Sheffield, our case began March the 21st. As part of routine online peer-to-peer sharing investigations, agents identified a device that was downloading child sexual abuse material, commonly referred to as child pornography. The investigation led us to an IP address at Sheffield's residence in Naples, Florida. Less than 2 weeks later, agents conducted a search warrant, seized multiple electronic devices, conducted follow-up forensics analysis, and discovered hundreds of files of child sexual abuse material on his devices. Sheffield was just arrested this Wednesday and was transported to the Collier County Jail. He faces 10 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material, which are second-degree felonies. Next, we have Jason Grant Harrison, 46 years old. On February the 4th of this year, FDLE agents again were conducting an online investigation of peer-to-peer file sharing networks that share child sexual abuse material. That investigation led us to a user with an IP address in LaBelle, Florida. The user, eventually identified as Mr. Harrison, was downloading child exploitative material. On February the 27th, agents executed a search warrant at his home, seized multiple devices, and located several files depicting sexual abuse of children. After the search warrant, Harrison subsequently moved to Jacksonville, where he was arrested this week. He was booked in the county jail there in Jacksonville. He'll be extradited to Hendry County to face 3 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material, which are third-degree felonies. And then finally, we also arrested 34-year-old Travis Montgomery from Bradenton. Montgomery is charged with the following: 6 third-degree felony counts of possession of child sexual abuse material, 1 second-degree felony count of solicitation of an image from a parent or guardian of sexual conduct involving a child, and 1 first-degree felony charge of food tampering. Montgomery's case began March the 13th, when our agents were notified by the Bellingham Police Department in Washington State that a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had identified an online user sharing child sexual abuse material on the Kik messaging app. Our investigation led to Mr. Montgomery's IP address, where he was receiving those files. The communication between Montgomery and the parent led to shared digital files depicting Montgomery performing sexual acts inside a restaurant where he was employed at the time, sexual acts that intentionally contaminated food. He is no longer, thankfully, employed at that restaurant. About a month later, agents conducted a search warrant at Montgomery's residence in Bradenton, and on April the 30th, Montgomery was arrested and transported to the Manatee County Jail. As you heard, these cases are disgusting in nature. There's some details that are revolting, but our agents are so dedicated to holding these people to account, and I can't be more thankful for that. The swift actions of our agents prevented these men, as you heard, from victimizing more children, because every image is a victim. It's not just a photo, as you heard the commissioner say. FDLE will continue to work towards safeguarding the community's most innocent and vulnerable. That mission is a joint community effort. Now that we're in the month of May, a few weeks, kids are going to be getting out of school. They're going to have a lot of extra time on their hands. So we urge parents, please speak with your children, educate them on safe internet use. There are tools at the Secure Florida website, which is on the monitor, that will help you in that, help you have those conversations, and prepare for your children to enter the internet world on their own. So thank you. With that, I'll
Rochelle Neve was 3 when she and her siblings were heavily abused by their mother. She was also 3 when her 6-year-old brother Ricky was murdered by a teenager from the local area. These are traumatic enough experiences for anyone to be put through. Awful things that one might assume are best experienced while young enough to forget they ever even happened. But is not remembering really the same thing as never happening? And do children actually remember much from the age of 3 and under? Well, ask yourself, what do you remember from when you were 3 years old? Mostly happy memories? Mostly traumatic experiences? Do you remember anything? Recently, the question was raised about the legitimacy of an adult's testimony according to their early childhood memories. And by early, I mean within the first few years of life. Let's say birth to 3 years old. You see, I wonder how much memory can be recalled during this time period, later on in a kid's grown-up life. This is something I truly seek to understand better. But just how early childhood experiences begin to define us as adults is really what piques my interest. In the late 1980s, clinical psychologist Dr. Ken McGitt, who specializes in dealing with heavily abused children, videotaped a therapy session with a 6-year-old girl named Beth Thomas. You may have heard about her in YouTube videos often titled Psychopathic Evil Little Girl, or something of that nature. Beth had been so badly abused within the first 19 months of her life that she couldn't bond with others. She was also unable to give or receive love, let alone display any trace of a conscience. It seemed like the little girl had absolutely no remorse for any of her actions. She and her little brother were adopted by a Methodist minister named Tim Tennant and his wife Julie Tennant. The couple were unable to have kids of their own, so in February of 1984, they decided to adopt Beth and her brother John from social services. Beth was roughly a year and a half, while John was around 7 months old. Tim and Julie were both led to believe that the kids they were adopting were 2 healthy and mentally sound children. The Tennants just wanted to share the love they had to offer with someone. They felt like they wanted to raise kids that they could pass everything on to when they pass away. So when they got the call about Beth and John, it was a dream come true, and one that came quicker than expected. People can wait up to 10 years to adopt a child, yet miraculously, they were being offered 2 while seemingly getting to skip the queue. But just months into the adoption, Tim and Julie's dreams were swiftly shattered as soon as it became apparent that 19-month-old Beth and her little brother John were not normal kids. They had serious problems their new parents weren't aware of, problems specifically affecting the behavior of Beth. As the Tennants began to ask questions as to the origins of Beth's actions, they made a startling discovery. Beth and John's early life greeted them with nothing but suffering. Their mom had a kidney disease and was constantly in the hospital. She would end up dying when Beth was about 1, leaving the children in the exclusive care of their biological father. It seems clear to me that the abuse started before this tragic event, but I think it seriously ramped up its intensity after Beth lost her mother. When social services stepped into the picture, allegedly following a report by a doctor, the neglect and abuse they discovered was haunting.
He's an intelligent child and a very attractive one. But Philip is a problem. At school, at home, to himself. Philip is an overly aggressive child. What can be done? We can say, oh, this is just a phase, he'll outgrow it. Or we can recognize that he needs help and that something can be done to help him.
John was found in a bassinet covered in urine and feces. His diaper hadn't been changed in days. There was a bottle at his feet that contained curdled milk. The back of 7-month-old John's head was flat and oddly shaped due to him never being lifted or moved. The front of his head had become bulged, The poor boy couldn't raise his head, let alone roll over on his own. Tim described John as a child who simply had no stimulation whatsoever. But Beth's behavior in Tim and Julie's house was the catalyst to discovering what was really happening to John. Beth's disturbing actions seemingly began when she started targeting pets and other animals she came into contact with. According to her, she had 4 domesticated animals at the time: Clyde, Shucky, Darcy, and a dog named Annie. 6-year-old Beth openly discusses with Dr. Majid just what she does to the animals in her company when no one's looking.
Do you have animals, Beth?
4 of them.
And what do you do to the animals, Beth?
Stick them with pins.
Do you stick them a little bit or a lot?
A lot.
What are you trying to do to the animals, Beth?
Kill them.
What do they do when you stick them with the pins?
Well, Annie cries. She's a dog.
She got baby birds down out of the nest, and we thought maybe she was just curious. So we explained that she could hurt them, put them back, and went through a whole sitting down and talking to her about the problem of it. And the next day we went out to check the baby birds, and they were on the ground dead with their necks broken.
Let's talk about what happened once when you were smaller, when you found some baby birds in a tree. What did you do then?
I took them out.
Mm-hmm. And what did Mom say to you?
That the mother will not come back if somebody touches her baby.
Mm-hmm. Are the baby birds kind of small? Can you describe them for me?
Well, they don't have their eyes open, but they can hear me, and they look up.
Are they kind of helpless? Little baby birds? Can they fly?
No.
Can they run away?
Yes.
They can? Are they easy to catch or hard to catch?
Hard.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to remember. With the baby birds, what did you do?
Took them out of the tree.
And what did you do with them?
Played around too rough. Also, when at the end, I picked it up and I thought it was Dad, and I came to say, "Mommy, is this bird dead?" And she said, she called Daddy and said, "Tim," and Daddy came and I think I remember that they said yes.
Mm-hmm. And so did the little baby birds die?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I just remember that I remember that Mommy and Daddy said the last bird we got was dead.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what Mom said to me? She said that all of them were dead. Did you squeeze them? Did Baby Beth squeeze them? You're doing a good job, honey. Go ahead and tell me what happened.
I squeezed them.
And what happened?
They died.
It's chilling to see a 6-year-old go from pure forgetful denial to complete admission of guilt without so much as a second thought. Beth's attempts to mislead Dr. Magid are poorly invested in. It's like the very second she realizes he's not buying it, she completely confesses to avoid the hassle of manipulation. A new disturbing bar was set when the little girl started exhibiting uncontrollable urges to masturbate. If Tim and Julie weren't fully aware that Beth had severe psychological problems before, they certainly were when they discovered her sexual promiscuity. Behavior, it appeared, that linked back to a recurring nightmare Beth had frequently. Only her looping dream of terror was based on true events caused by her birth father.
The nightmare was about a man who was falling on her and hurting her with a part of himself.
She started to masturbate at inappropriate times, I remember one time when we were at the hospital waiting for Tim to come out. He was there visiting. And Beth and John were in the back seat, and I turned around, and she had her legs spread and was masturbating in a public parking lot. And I had tried to explain to her numerous times before that that's private area. You don't do it in public places. And gone over that with her, and it never seemed to faze her. And
Julie, how often would your daughter masturbate?
daily, constantly.
Have you ever rubbed your private parts?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do it a lot?
A lot.
How much do you do that?
About every single day, and that's I did it every single day until it got real bad and messed up, and I had to go to the doctor, and I did not like it.
What do you mean by real bad?
Well, it looked real raw, got all kinds of boo-boos on it, germs, a lot of stuff from my hand.
And it bled?
Mm-hmm.
But herself and animals are not the only thing that Beth took her rage out on. She not only desired to cause the deaths of Tim and Julie, but she desperately wanted to kill her little brother Jonathan. It shakes my soul to hear this poor, 6-year-old, loveless little human describe these awful and undeserving things with such emotionless detail. She was only 19 months old when it stopped. 1 year and 7 months. There was no one to love her, and she never saw anyone be loved. To 6-year-old Beth Thomas, love simply didn't exist. And in place of love, she was forced to experience this.
Tell me about your birth father. What was that nightmare like?
When he touched my vaginas
Okay.
until it bled, hurt it a lot until it bled, and wouldn't feed me a lot. He'd hit on me, wouldn't be very nice to me.
How old were you?
1.
And in your nightmare, what happens?
I get real scared.
Where are you in the nightmare? What happens in the dream?
I'm in the house, upstairs.
And then what happens, Beth?
When he comes upstairs and hurts.
How do you feel when you talk about this?
Scared.
Beth is recalling trauma from the age of 1. This trauma has completely infected and consumed her life, as you're about to see, and she absolutely remembers some of it. You may say, but Mr. Black, maybe someone told Beth her history. Well, I don't doubt that as a possibility that's probable, but when they show her childhood drawings on the screen, I think it becomes all the more evident that Beth Thomas is definitely recalling her past.
Where's your birth father? What's he doing?
He's right there, and there's his hand. His hand's right there.
Where?
Right there. You can't hardly see it because it's green.
What's it touching?
My vaginas.
And what is your birth father doing?
Hurting it.
Your face looks sad. Can you tell me about that?
Mm-hmm. It's crying because there's dots of the tears.
When Jonathan started waking up screaming in tears at night, complaining about his stomach, the tenants couldn't figure out why their adopted son was in such pain. But quickly, the cause of his agony was discovered. John wasn't sick, and he wasn't having nightmares. He was literally being attacked in his sleep.
But this kind of aggression at our animals, and even at our brother Jonathan, was beginning to grow to such an excess that our life was miserable at home. John would cry in the mornings and say his stomach hurt. For the longest time, we thought maybe this child has some problem with his intestinal area, or maybe he has allergies, and so we're trying to get all that checked out. Come to find out, Beth was coming out of her room and hitting him in the stomach. And so as a last resort, just to protect him, we had to tie our door shut. So I guess for the last 3 or 4 months now, we've had to tie her in at night.
Are people afraid of you, Beth?
Uh-huh.
Who's afraid of you, Beth?
John.
Your brother. And why is your brother afraid of you?
Because I hurt him so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what, at nighttime, what do your parents do to your door?
Lock it shut.
Why do they lock it shut?
Because they don't want me to hurt John.
Right. And they're kind of afraid of hurting John? Are you hurting John?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are they afraid that you might hurt them?
Yep.
Would you, Beth?
Mm-hmm.
When would you do it?
Nighttime.
Okay. Why would you do nighttime?
Because I don't like them seeing me do it. But they can feel me do it.
Mm-hmm. And what would you do to them, Beth?
Stab them.
Okay. What would you stab them with?
A knife.
Do you ever stick pins in people?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
My brother.
Okay. Do you do it a little bit or a lot?
A lot.
Okay. And what are you trying to do to your brother?
Kill him.
Why do you want your brother to die?
Because I was hurt so bad, and I don't want to be around people.
Okay. Who else would you like to stick pins into?
Mommy and Daddy.
What would you like to have happen to them?
Die.
Does your brother have private parts?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is his private parts?
Penis and butt.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do with your brother with his private parts, Beth?
I heard it.
Tell me about it. What do you do?
Well, I pinch it. Squeeze it. Kick it.
When you do things to your brother's private parts, what does he say?
Stop.
Okay, tell me that.
Well, he says stop, but I don't stop.
Do you hurt him?
Mm-hmm. A lot.
Okay. And would you like to do that to other boys?
When I caught her with Jonathan one morning, she was molesting him. He was crying and his pants were down, and I said, Beth, what's happening? And she said, I pulled his penis and put my finger up his anus. And I said, didn't he say to stop? And she said, yeah, he did. And I said, did you? And she said, no.
She had tried to kill John on several occasions and openly admitted that.
In the basement, she was hitting his head against a cement floor. I heard his screams and ran down and had to literally pull her hands off, and she looked wild-eyed.
As you can see in that press conference, one of the guys in Florida was reaching out to a mother that was in New York, and she was willing, the mother, to send pictures of her own kids to this guy. And she was, in the type of pictures that she was willing to send to this person. So like I said before, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, when a child is in a household and it's a mother and a father, 9 times out of 10, the mother knows exactly what's going on with her child. And she chooses to look the other way, or she's participating in some type of way. I don't know what's up with these type of mothers. Instead of helping and defending their kids, they look the other way. This woman was actually being a pimp to her own kids. And that's very sad. And then you see these type of people. He was also charged with SAN food, basically, because that's that type of mind he has. So these people are the ones that's going out into society that people have to actually deal with. These are the type of people that's around their kids. Because if you're at a restaurant if you was at that restaurant that he was working at, you would have had no clue of what type of person he is. And so this type of stuff, that's why, people have to say something and have to point it out and stop sweeping it under the rug like it's no big deal. Like it doesn't really hurt people or hurt kids. And you seen in that second video with that little girl, that's something that happened to her when she was 1 year old. And because she never knew what love was, because no one ever loved her when she was growing up as a child, now the only thing she understands is hurt and pain. And when she's feeling a certain way, she wants to go and hurt her little brother, make him feel the way that she did. Animals not safe around her, her mother, her father. I feel that the people did the mother and the father wrong, because when they came to adopt those two kids, they should have fully explained what was going on, what happened to them, so they can know exactly how to deal with her. Now they have legally adopted these two kids to only find out what the daughter is going through, and they're like in fear in their own home because they don't know what she might end up doing to them or doing to the little boy. So for people to think that this stuff do not stick with these kids for the rest of their life, either you never experienced it yourself or you're just being delusional about how the mind processes information, whether it's good information or bad information. That information stick with you and it goes with you for the rest of your life. So in certain situations, either you're going to get a good programming as far as this is how I need to react under these circumstances and situations, or your bad programming is going to come up. I said it before, a lot of times when you see these kids acting up in school, you need to stop and see and figure out what's going on inside their household. They're being disturbed in some type of way in their household and they cannot express it, so they express it in school. Something is being done to them, so they go ahead and do that to someone else. Someone is hurting them, they hurt someone else. So this is something that should be taken seriously and not lightly, because like I said, these are the type of people, they look normal. If you look at that little girl and you wanted to adopt a child and you seen her, she looks so innocent. She don't look like she would hurt anyone. But she's a young psychopath. And that's sad to say because of what has happened to her. But now what happened to her turned her into a psychopath. So when I say as Christians, we have to actually understand that this is the spiritual warfare that's going on in this world. Satan came to kill, steal, and destroy. And he's starting with the kids, because if they can program these kids into being the type of people who don't care, who feel like my feelings are the only feelings that matter. Don't care how anyone else feels. No one can tell me anything. I can do whatever I want to. And if you're teaching these kids that mentality, that your action has a reaction to someone else, you have to think about the things you do and how they're going to affect someone else. If they're not been taught love or shown love, or being respected as a child, allowed to grow up as a child, and these adults stop, how can you as a grown man think it's okay to do this to a child? And then when you have people covering for these people, you have to think about what's wrong with you, that you know what these people are doing and you think it's okay. What's wrong with you? Like the judge saying that they're trying to get too much time for these people. They're not, the time they're getting don't equal to the lifetime of suffering that these kids are going to have. These kids, once SA happened to them, they're walking away with a lifetime sentence that's in their head. They can never get away from that. It's not, oh, in 3 years I'm gonna get pardoned, in 4 years. No, that's gonna stick with them for the rest of their life, because now it's a part of their mental programming. It's in their heads for the rest of their life. and they're going to have to try to figure out how to deal with it. I'm not saying every person that happened to end up being a psychopath or end up going out hurting. Some people are affected in that way, but they go out and help because they don't want any other child to have to go through what they went through. But this is something that has to be seen as a bad situation. A lot of people look at, oh, they're just kids, and they just act like they have no feelings, no emotions, and nothing kind of, they're young, they'll get over it. But as you can see, they don't. You got to think about, do you want these type of people growing up in your society, and because of what was allowed to happen to them, now they're running away free to do this to someone else? All they're doing is building up, all Satan is doing is building up an army that he can send out to continue that cycle of killing, stealing, and destroying. Because a part of you died, even though you're physically alive, a part of you died. And then some people, they're so distraught by what they do. I'm not what they do, but what they have been through. They decide to take their own life. They decide to end it. So it's a very complicated situation. It doesn't have a one size fit all answer, and it's just something that when you see it, you have to shine the light on it to make people aware of what's going on. You have to shame these people as far as what they're doing to kids, and then you have to hold them accountable, as well as the people that know what's going on, and they choose to look the other way, and they still be around these type of people. These people cannot be trusted, but you're trusting them by being around them. You're okay with, the things that you hanging out with them. You're fine with that, but you're not thinking about the damage they're doing to kids. So I would like to say thank you for watching my channel. My name is Delmarshae. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.